Hello, my friends. Mr. Ferguson here, and today I'm making this video so you can get some notes and some examples and have a resource for when it comes to factoring algebraic expressions. So first of all, understand factoring. If you understand distributive property, factoring is basically the opposite of the distributive property. Instead of multiplying, you're trying to figure out what you can divide. All right. So here we go. Check it out. Just like it says here, our focus is going to be on the greatest common factor of terms. That's one of the more basic ways of factoring when you have more than one term. So, definition of factoring. Factoring, that is dividing an expression into multiplication form based on common divisors. So we're looking for numbers that can divide into 6x and 3. All right, numbers or terms or variables. So the fact of the matter is 6x plus 3. Well, both of these terms can be divided by 3. So that means I can factor 3 out. So what I'm doing is I'm going to take 6x plus 3. Again, it's the largest number that can divide into 6x. It's the largest number that can divide into 3. And I'm going to divide by 3. Like I said, factoring is the opposite of distributive property. Well, since I've divided by 3, what I've done is I've pulled the 3 out. All right, pulled the 3 out of my terms. So here I have 6x divided by 3. Of course, 6 divided by 3 is 2, giving me 2x. And then I have 3 divided by 3. Of course, anything divided by itself is 1, and it's a positive 1 plus 1. So 3 is the greatest term that can divide into 6x and positive 3. So I divided both of those terms by 3, which means I factor 3 out, opposite of distributive property. So there is our factored form. And like I said in the definition, it's a multiplication form because what you see now is 3 times 2x plus 1. And of course, that equals where we started. If you use the distributive property, 3 times 2x, 6x, 3 times 1, 3. All right. So next example. Let's take a look here. In there, we have 2 terms. Both of these terms have an x, but they have different exponents. So that's something we got to keep in mind here. Well, there is no number that can divide into 8 and 3. So that means I'm not going to factor out a value. But both of these terms have an x, so I can factor out x. And they're not like terms. So I write this step out. You don't necessarily have to write this step. Some of you recall how to do this without writing this step. That's fine. I'm going to factor out x by dividing by x. So my x goes out front to represent multiplication. 8x squared divided by x. Well, when you divide, you subtract exponents. So it's the second power minus the first power. That means I just have x to the first power, which is a x. But this 8 here is divided by the 1 you see. So 8 divided by 1 is 8. X squared divided by x is just x. Then 3x divided by x, positive 3. And there's our factored form. All right. So to double check my factored form to make sure I factored it correctly, I know that x times 8x is 8x squared. X times 3, positive 3x. And that's the same thing. It's the same thing I had in the beginning. Factoring work. All right, one more example, and then we're going to get to some practice. So I got 2x to the 6th power minus 3x to the 4th power. I know you may not remember all the properties of exponents right now, but we'll get more practice there. But the fact is, there is no number that can divide into 2 and 3. So this one I'm going to do, I'm going to change this actually to a 12 because I want us to be able to factor out a value also. So now if we think about 12 and 3 or negative 3 can both be divided by positive 3. X to the 6th power, x to the 4th power. Well, based on what I know about exponents, I can factor out this smaller exponent from that one. All right, so here's how it works. I'm going to take 12x to the 6th power minus 3x to the 4th power. I'm going to factor out, first of all, 3, which is the greatest common factor. It's the greatest value that can divide into those, 3. And I know x to the fourth power can factor into x to the sixth, meaning x to the sixth can be divided by x to the fourth. So I'm just going to go ahead and factor out that whole x to the fourth power. Now I divide because I got to bring out my 3x to the fourth power, which is my factor. 3x to the sixth power divided by 3x to the fourth power. Well, 12 divided by 3 is 4. X to the sixth divided by x to the fourth. Got to subtract exponents. 6 minus 4 means x to the second power. And then negative 3x to the fourth power divided by 3x to the fourth power. It's negative 1. There's my factored form. So to double check it, to make sure I factored it correctly, if I do distributive property, 3 times 4 is 12. X to the fourth times x to the second is x to the sixth power. 3x to the fourth power divided by negative 1, negative 3x to the fourth power, which is exactly what I started with at the top. All right, so that is factoring algebraic expressions. 3 examples. We see how we can factor out a value. Sometimes we factor out a variable. Sometimes we factor out a value as a coefficient with a variable and an exponent. All right, so this video is available anytime you need it. Feel free to take notes and have a great day.